Alright, so here I'm going to be making an attempt to break down some of the things we did wrong last night. There's a lot of frustration in the guild currently with both not really the new players, but it's actually the experienced players. I think a lot of us have gotten complacent. We need to stop, take a step back, look at ourselves in the mirror. We need to refine some of the things that we're messing up on, because these raids should be a lot smoother than what they are. And I'm hoping to break down some of the things we messed up on last night to help us reflect. That way we can improve, get better, and people are more satisfied with the raids. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get this playing. Play. Zoom out. Alright, so fear phase, right? This one's pretty good. We're all spread out. Everybody hits these blocks and dodges pretty good. So there's nothing too crazy here, right? Totems are going to come up here in a second. We do pretty good about getting those, so there's not a whole lot to complain about right now, right? Totems right there, right? Everybody goes to their totem. Nothing crazy. Phantom takes a little bit of damage, but stuff happens. I think he just kind of gets in the... Yeah, he kind of like got in the path of the boss for whatever reason, but things happen. We're not perfect. Comes in the middle. Alright, so donut phase here, right? Alright, so two things. I'm going to back up. Donut. First thing we're going to do is we're going to watch Drasus, right? So Drasus hits this, he gets the first dodge where the boss comes to the middle, right? But then he does a little bit of a panic like dodge, right? And he actually dodges into the danger area. Now, luckily he had enough health where he survived, and then I just break him out, right? Nothing too crazy. He didn't die. But the problem we're having is in the second phase, a lot of the small mistakes we make are adding up, and it's biting us in the butt, right? Second thing I want to point out here is Zero. Now, I know Zero is kind of new, right? But Zero just kind of, I don't know, he ran into the danger area and didn't really do anything. So it just, maybe you need to take another look at the donuts, right? So there's something else I'm going to point out with the donuts later about the in and out rings. I'll explain that here in a bit. But for now, nothing too crazy. I have a better view, like footage view of the donut rings, and so I'm going to wait till then to explain it. Otherwise, I'm going to speed this up just a little bit. Nothing crazy. So right here, he does a jump. This is just the basic eye mechanic. It's pretty simple. It happens pretty routinely, but several of us end up missing our blocks. All right, so you see people's HP. We need to get better at hitting our blocks. This is going to be a reoccurring issue that we have. Right. We keep going. What else? What's next? Another eyeball. Everybody seemed to have gotten that one. Keep going. Keep going. Eyeball. A couple people missed their blocks, or dodges, I mean. And then looks like right about here, yeah, we're starting to transition in the second phase. Shield mechanic comes up. We end up breaking it. Nothing crazy. So in the second half of the fight, right, things start happening a lot faster. So the small issues that we're messing up on, they come up one after the other, and it ends up biting us in the butt, right? We need to refine the tiny things. So something I want to point out right now with this is going to come up later, right? These lightning balls, I'm going to pause this right here for a second. The lightning balls give off cumulative damage over time stacks. So I'm going to let this play out a little bit, so hopefully I can get one on myself already. Yeah, right here. So I'm going to pause this again. Pause it right there. So if you look at my list of buffs and debuffs, right? You see this one right here looks like a screaming like ghost head or whatever, and there's like a number in it, right? These are stacks that come off of these lightning balls, right? Now, I'm going to start off by saying I do not expect people to completely avoid these. Quite frankly, especially for melee, I think that's impossible. Like, that's not a fair ask, right? I'm not telling people to avoid these, but we need to be more aware of these. Because, alright, I'm going to let this start playing again. If you watch, when I go to like hit the lightning balls to move them around and help like move them to totems and stuff, I can't even hit them without getting close enough that it gives me another stack, right? So it's not fair to like tell me to not get stacks, otherwise I literally can't do the mechanic. But we need to be more aware of our placement when we're just standing around and avoid like standing in these. So if you look at my health, you see I'm not even doing anything wrong right now, but I'm bleeding pretty decently, and it's because of these lightning stacks that I got from those lightning balls. I'm pointing this out now because it's going to come up later, and in the later footage it's going to be like more of the issue that I'm talking about. But I wanted to go ahead and use this as an example of like explaining people, showing people those stacks right now. So here the boss jumps to the middle again. Donut comes up. Astrid, you missed that first block, and then you ran straight towards the danger donut. Like you ran towards the first like danger area instead of the safe area, and you kind of obviously you died. So you need to review the donuts more. And again, there's going to be some footage coming up that I want to point out some things on the donut to people, because there's something I want to point out that I think a lot of the guides on YouTube don't explain, and I'm hoping that hopefully it'll help. But we're going to keep letting this play for now. We broke the second shield. Somebody fat fingered the DPS skill. It happens. It sucks. If you don't know when to use it, if you're not that experienced, don't use it, because there's specific times that we need to use it, right? If you're not a DPS, or if you're just new in general, you want to be extra sure that you don't mess it up. There is a way to go into the settings and completely remove that skill off of your skill bar. If that's something you think you want to do, just to make sure that you don't like make it an issue, message people in the guild. There's several people that know how to do it. We can help you remove that in your settings if that's something you want to do. Real quick, I'm going to take some time to explain like when and why we use it, because I feel like for some of the newer people, they don't really understand why they can or cannot use the skill. So yes, breaking the shield is important, but if you use the raid skill while the shield is still up, then it doesn't do any additional damage. It only breaks the shield, and then whatever health the boss is still at, he's still at that health. So you don't want to use it unless it's an absolute emergency. You don't want to use the raid DPS skill during the shield phase, because then it doesn't really, like, yes, it breaks the shield, but it doesn't save you any damage or time. So by using it after the second shield phase, particularly when we're close to the end, when several people are down and DPS starts falling off, that's kind of when we want to use it, because it's a guaranteed like 3 to 4% chunk knocked off the boss. And by using it after the shield, it actually does that 3 to 4% damage. Whereas if you use it while the shield's still up, it's just going to break the shield and nothing else happens. So that's why there's a specific time we use it. First shield, obviously less HP, very easy to break. Second shield, obviously it's a little bit tougher, but we have the DPS to do it, especially with 5 stacks and with tier 3, right? Like, there is no reason for us to not break the second shield. So you should never like be worried about trying to use the DPS skill during the actual shield phase. So I'm going to let this play on. Let's see what happens next. Diamond. So here, right, something I want to point out. I think we did decent right there, but we need to pay more attention about how quickly we spread out. When he flies up in the air, he throws these puddles down, right? We're all grouped up, so more puddles come in this direction, and we take a lot of damage. Again, right there, it wasn't too bad. It's going to come up later, so I just want to mention it now. So here's the really quick circle blocks and dodges. And we have several people here that get caged. Some of them are new, but some of them are also experienced, right? So I'm going to pause this again. Actually, let me back it up a little bit, just so you can kind of watch it again while I talk about this, right? So some of the new people, like, if you look, matter of fact, let me try to pause this. Right, where's my cursor? Give me a second. Let me pause this right about here. Bam, right there. So we have Zero, we have King, we have Zeref, and back here we have Silva. Zero, is on the newer side, and he has a little bit of ping. So like, I I have some sympathy for Zero's position. However, these small things add up, right? King, you should know better. I don't know why you're caged. We need to be hitting those blocks. Zareth also should know, but to be fair, Zareth was one of the healers, if I remember correctly. So healers also get a little bit of slack because sometimes they can be pretty focused on trying to heal other people's mistakes, and you next thing you know, you get caught by it. Like, it happens from time to time. I know it does because I have a healer alt. I know how to do it. I don't expect my healers to do anything that I can't do, and I also understand their struggles. So I give healers a little bit of slack, but ultimately you have to make sure that you keep yourself alive. That way you can keep other people alive. And actually, this cage right here, especially in Silva, I'm going to pick on Silva a little bit throughout this video because the mistakes that she makes are ones that I see other people make as well, and they have to do with like smaller things that are adding up that I feel like is a perfect example of what I'm trying to like explain to people that we're overlooking. So I'm going to be picking on Silva. It's not because I don't like her, but it's because there's a lot to be learned from the mistakes that she makes, right? And matter of fact, one of them starts right now with the fact that she's caged, right? So I'm going to let this play out. So Silva got caged, right? Now nobody dies yet, right? But everybody's hurt. So now the healers are struggling. They're panicking. They're trying to like hurry up and heal people. Silva dies right here, right? Now I'm going to replay it. I'm going to break down what happened. So she already got caged, right? So herself as well as several other people are like at half health or lower. What happens is immediately after this, the boss goes up. He does the puddle thing again, right? We need to spread out. But notice Silva is kind of like up the boss's ass. She takes too long to spread out. She gets hit by one of the puddles, takes even more damage. And then it finally culminates with her missing the block. Now, this is what I want to point out, right? Getting caged. Did she die? No. So you can only complain so much. She got hit by the puddle because she took too long to spread. Did she die? No. So you can only complain so much. Then she misses the block. Now sometimes you miss a block. You have enough health. You survive. It's whatever. People are not perfect, right? But what happened is you had the cage, followed by the puddle, followed by a missed block. So it compounded, right? So now she's really low health. And it culminates with her missing that block, and she doesn't have the HP to survive it, and she dies. So you either need to hit the block, or I mean the dodge. You know, sorry about confusing. I kind of consider them the same, right? You either hit the block or the dodge, or you don't fuck up on the other shit that you messed up. Again, people are not perfect. Shit happens. But this is a prime example of what I think has really been biting us in the ass the last couple of weeks on the raids. Particularly the experienced people. I think we're getting sloppy, we're getting too comfortable, and we're riding off the small things like, oh, they don't really matter, I'm not really dying. But you are dying, it's just not immediately. Things are adding up and people aren't realizing that. So I'm going to let this play out again. Keep going from here. So that's why Silva goes down here. There's not too much more that happens after this. I think he goes in the middle. There's a fear. Well, there's another block or a dodge. I mean, a couple people miss that. People die. Goes in the middle. Here's a fear phase. This one ended up being a little janky. You notice some of the range people get feared. There's a little bit of slack because that's actually where we were. Like we were coming from that direction because the boss jumped to the middle. So I can understand what happened there. You know, sometimes fear can be pretty difficult, especially in the second phase. We just need to try to be more mindful of our placement, right? So this fear is actually pretty good. I just went ahead and skipped to the next run because we ultimately didn't clear. Wasn't too much more on the last one. That fear was pretty good. Maybe people were actually a teeny tiny bit too far because we do want to try to still be DPS in the boss, but I would rather prioritize survivability first because a dead DPS is no DPS. Pillars, everybody got the pillar. Everything looks good for now. Nothing too crazy there. So he's gonna jump back to the middle. So here's where I want to point out something with the donut. I'm about to point out something that I don't think a lot of people realize, and I don't think like a lot of guides don't talk about it. So he's about to jump to the middle, right? Here's my issue with the donut. So first of all, let me explain what I think people should be doing, right? if you're melee, the donut pattern, the order of the donuts is always going to be the same. Technically, if we ever encounter a slow donut because of low DPS, then that pattern will be different. But I don't think there was a single time last night where we saw a slow donut, so you shouldn't have to worry about that too much. So I just want you to be aware, technically, if there's a slow donut, the pattern will be different. Normally, like right now, these donut patterns are always going to be the same. And it's always going to start with the like middle ring is dangerous and the inside and the outside are safe. So I'm going to try to like let this play out. He's going to jump to the middle. I'm going to let it appear right there. Okay. I'm going to fix the screen. Right. So if you're melee, the first is always safe. So you just hug the bus's ass and then you dodge the second two rings. You dodge both of them because the second one and the third one, the middle is dangerous. So you just dodge both of them. If you're ranged, the first two are safe. Like people, the ranged, you just stand outside. Like honestly, where I'm at, yes, I'm a melee, but I'm red, so I'm trying to like float, make sure the totems are taken care of. So that's why I'm back here in the first place. But range is going to be pretty much where I'm at. The first two rings, the outside is safe, and the third one is dangerous. Instead of trying to squeeze into that tiny middle safe area on the last one, just plan / be prepared to dodge the third one. It's a single dodge, and you have plenty of time to know it's coming because you're watching the entire donut mechanic happen. So there's no reason for you to miss this dodge. It's pretty easy. Especially if the melee can do 2 dodges, which I do it all the time. That's what I prefer. You can hit 1 dodge as a range. It's not that hard. That's the easiest way. Now the thing is, people talk about they want to come into the safe area on the third one, right? But I'm going to point out something to you guys now. This is why I avoid going to the middle at all costs. I can do it because I'm aware of what I'm about to point out to you guys, but it still sucks and can be finicky. And so this is why I try to avoid that middle safe space if at all possible. So take a real careful look at where this donut is right now. This is the first one, right? The inside is safe. The outside is safe. The outer portion of this ring crosses the number 4 base plate. You see that? And then you kind of try to make a mental note of where the inner ring is, but there's not much to base it off of right now. Particularly, we're looking at the base plate of the outer ring. Notice the outer ring crosses a portion of the number 4 base plate, right? So I'm going to let it play to the second ring. Right there. Second one, the entire middle is dangerous. But notice, the outer ring doesn't go all the way to the number 4 base plate. So this ring is a different size than the first safe ring was. Specifically, this danger area is even bigger than the first safe area was on the inside, right? So this line, my point I'm trying to make is these donuts are not evenly spaced. This danger circle right here expands past where the first safe area was. So if you're ranged, you don't want to be standing right on the edge of where the first safe circle, where the first danger area is, because you're gonna, or on the inside of it, because if you're standing on the edge of the inside, it's gonna move. You're gonna get clipped by this. I guess that pertains more to melee. Sometimes range do it depending on where you're at. So I'm gonna let it play out to the third one now, and this is where it's really gonna be prominent. So the third one, right? Take a look again. The outer edge of the safe ring doesn't even come to the number 4 base plate, right? So the safe area ring is not in the same spot as the first danger ring area is, right? They're not the same size, they're not symmetric, they're not evenly spaced. These lines move. And this is what fucks people up, is they don't realize that the borders of these lines are not in the same spot. They move a little bit, like less than a meter, but just enough to fuck people up, right? So this third danger circle is obviously smaller than the first safe area and the second danger area was. And then the outer portion of this safe ring is further inside than the first danger ring was, and it's entirely inside where the second danger circle was. So this is why I don't fuck with this ring at all if I can help it. Sometimes I don't have a choice, especially if I'm breaking people out of cages. If at all possible, avoid this ring. If you're melee, you stay inside. First one is safe. You dodge the second two. If you're ranged, you stay outside the entire time. The first two are safe, and you dodge the third one. Matter of fact, that's what I do right here. Even though I'm a melee, I'm outside because I'm floating, trying to make sure totems are taken care of. I just dodge this third one right there. It's not that hard. I know it's coming because I've been watching the donut for 10 seconds now already, right? Now the thing with melee is if it's easy to say stay inside if you're blue. If you're red, then it can kind of become a problem, especially if the tank is blue and you're red, because you might cage them. Just be mindful of your placement. Try not to cross over the tank. Usually what I do is exactly what I did in this footage here, so I'm gonna back it up and let it play all the way through. If I'm red, I just stay outside. I do the range thing, right? I just stay outside the entire time. That way, if the number 5 totem was ends up being red, I can step inside and catch that block before I get clipped by the other rings. So even if I'm melee, if I'm red, I just stay outside the entire time and I do the ranged method. So that's my preference on the donut. Obviously, you don't have to do it my way, but there's a reason I do it the way I do, and it's because it's what I found to be the safest. So I skipped a little bit here because there wasn't much that happened for a while. We enter second phase. He spawns the lightning orbs, right? A couple people missed blocks there. Got to be careful. Here comes the fear. We do pretty good about the spacing on the sphere. This sphere can sometimes get nasty because we do have to make sure that we're keeping the balls inside. But we did pretty good here. However, I think I'm gonna let this play out for a second. I think it's after these totems. We do pretty good about getting these totems. I think number 3 totem takes a while to get done, but it gets done, so there's not much to complain about here. I think there's something I want to point out right here. Give me a second. I'm trying to look. Okay, it doesn't. Yeah, it does happen here. Okay, so I want to point something out. Remember I was talking about the lightning orbs earlier, right? I'll back this up a little bit. I want y'all to look at Silva's health bar. Now Silva is not even on the screen right now, but I can tell by the way that her health bar is ticking down that she is standing inside of a yellow orb right now. Her health bar is just ticking away, and then it starts melting, right? Even when so she also missed that dodge, took some damage, right? Now we're doing donuts. But she's bleeding a lot, right? It's because she was standing inside the yellow orb, and I would try to pause this more and show y'all, but the editing software I'm using is kind of difficult to mess with. I replayed it like really slow. YouTube should have let you slow it down too if you want to go back and check. But what happened was Silva was standing inside one of those yellow orbs, accumulating lightning stacks, and she starts melting really fast. And also, I think it's right here. Number 5 on the second team is Emma. Emma actually is not standing in a lightning orb, but you can see her health is still going down. And that's because she's already accumulated some lightning stacks, but she's not actively standing in a yellow orb. So it's not bleeding out as fast, but she is taking a significant amount of damage, even though she's not necessarily doing anything wrong. So sometimes I think there's even some healers that don't realize this, and they get mad because they see people at half health. They think they missed a block, but they didn't. They're just bleeding because of something that they honestly can't really help. Again, I don't expect people to avoid the lightning stacks. It's just it's a mechanic that we need to be aware of so we can better understand people and help people. Also, we need to be more aware of our spacing, making sure that we are not actively standing inside the yellow orbs if we can help it. Because if you notice, Silva is still bleeding like a shit ton right now. Her health bar is just like, you can see she's healing herself, but she's like fighting for her life right now. On top of trying to make sure other people are staying alive too. So she almost dies there, heals herself back up. But now watch, the boss is going to fly up, he's going to do puddles again, right? He flies up, puddles are on the ground, Silva was already hurt. She catches the damage from another puddle and she dies. Pretty similar to how she died the first time, right? And again, it's that compounding consequence, right? She stood in the lightning orb, accumulated a bunch of stacks, causing her to bleed. Now she's fighting for her life just to keep herself alive, and stuff's not even happening. So then when something does happen, her healing skills are kind of exhausted. They're probably on cooldown. Her focus might not necessarily be on where it needs. Like, she ends up missing a dodge, I think. Yeah. Ultimately, she dies because she misses a dodge. And that's partially because she's so focused on healing herself, trying to keep herself alive, that she, like, you know, doesn't quite pay enough attention to the diamond and misses the diamond. So, you know, all of us need to get better at hitting our dodges and blocks. We need to be aware of our spacing because stuff adds up quickly in the second phase. It's very fast paced, so even the small things end up biting us in the butt. This is the main thing that I'm trying to explain with this video here, right? I'm gonna let this play out again, let it keep going. But that's why Silva ends up dying here, is because there were several things that happened that she messed up on, and it ultimately bit her in the ass. I missed a block here. Yeah, I get that one, but the one before, yeah. So I messed up too. I'm not perfect either, right? Matter of fact, I think I'm about to mess up big right here. Just right here. Yeah, so here, right? I got greedy. For one reason or another, I wanted to stay on the bus, well, on boss. And it's because, I'll tell you what was going through my mind was like, the boss was like low HP, but not quite low enough. I was really trying to push DPS. But like I said before, a dead DPS is no DPS, right? So like, I got too greedy here. I didn't move quick enough. And so if you watch really closely, by the time I start to move, it's already too late. I get staggered by one of the lightning puddles, and it makes it to where I can't dodge. And then I get hit by the dodge and I die. So I should have moved out of the way, gotten out of the puddles. And that would have made it to where I didn't get staggered, where I could have like hit that block. So like, I really wanted to do DPS, but I kind of got tunnel vision. I got greedy, and it bit me in the butt. So I need to get better too. No one is perfect, but we want to get better. There's a lot of issues right now, and quite frankly, I feel like since Tier 3 has come out, somehow we have gotten worse at raids. And yes, we are bringing in more new people, but the people that have been doing it, I'm seeing more and more mistakes. Like, the amount of mistakes I'm seeing from people that have been running the raids for a while is increasing, and this is why we need to take a step back and reflect on ourselves. So I'm hoping this helped show some people some things they might not have quite been aware of, and highlight things that we all need to like slow down and look on. So one last thing about the blocking I want to talk about real quick. Right now is a really good time. The current solo dungeons that are out, you know, like the normal, difficult, nightmare ones you do by yourselves, right? It's the ice boss and the fire dragon, right? The ice boss, granted, some of our DPS can kill it so fast that they don't even see this mech anymore. But if you go into the ice boss and you still have to do the mechanic where he does like 3 diamonds in a row and you have to like dodge them, that's really good practice for the second phase. It's actually still slower than some of the dodges in second phase, but it's a nice like middle ground. It's about as close as you're gonna get. So practice those diamonds, practice getting all of those dodges, and you should be in a decent spot for the second phase of this first boss fight. If you go into that ice boss and you claim that you cannot hit all 3 of those diamond dodges confidently, you need to save a recording of it, and you need to send it to either myself or somebody that you know in the guild that you're more comfortable with that's pretty good at PvE. That way we can break down the small things that you're messing up on the block. Because I guarantee you, there's a lot of you that are claiming that it's lag or whatever, and it's not. I give Zero some slack because I've already talked to him. You know, he said his ping bounces between 200 and 490. That's a lot. I've dealt with that before. I give him a little bit of slack on that. There's a lot of other people that claim lag. I promise you it's not lag. I've also heard the bullshit of particular weapons cannot counter or they can't do it or whatever. They can. How do I know? Because I've used and done it with every single weapon in this game. Now, I will agree that particularly the wand and the sword and shield are harder to do it with, but it can be done. Worst case scenario, you just use whatever your secondary weapon is and make that your dodge slash counter skill, right? But ultimately, a lot of times what it ends up being is people just aren't, they're not as comfortable, they're not as confident, and they're not as good at hitting the counter before they can dodge again as they think they are. Usually it's an issue with like hitting that counter skill. So if you go do the ice boss and you just swear that you can't get all of those diamonds, save a recording, send it to myself or someone else. I promise you we can break it down, and there will probably be some tips that we can give you so that you can get better at hitting those dodges. It's doable. I promise you it's doable because I've done it with every single weapon. But that's all I got for now. I hope this helps point out some things that people weren't quite aware of.